Okay. So, Black Panther, shall we? First of all, I just want to disclose that I don't know shit about shit when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Superhero movies are not my thing. They have never been my thing. And I think that this is why what I'm going to say means all the more. All I know of Black Panther is what I've seen from this movie, which, let me say, is so fucking great. You need to see this movie. Please see this movie. I'm trying to be chill. It also is the morning time. I have my fucking big ass cup of tea to keep me chill. I do have a list of notes, all of which I wrote down at 2 in the morning last night after I saw this movie. So I'm just gonna talk about it and everything that I loved about it, which was literally everything. Obviously, a huge part of this movie is representation. This representation goes so deep, deeper than just people of color, obviously, but people of color in their different hairstyles and their clothing and their makeup. Oh my god, so many hairstyles. So many hairstyles. And that's huge. Seeing like bald women is huge. And seeing box braids and cornrows and like a whole bunch of different styles on men as well is just awesome. They did a really cool thing where they blended like native African style and modern American style, and it made for some really, really awesome looks. But it's huge to see that representation of people of color. I made a video about 2 years ago, probably longer than that actually, called Black is Beautiful. Still one of my favorite videos I've ever made because it meant so much to me. I talked about how I obviously am a person of color and I was raised in a predominantly white community. I have a feeling that for a lot of people of color, seeing even the smallest amount of representation is huge. So imagine going to Black Panther and seeing all of the cast, except for 2 characters who weren't really necessarily the main characters, all of them were people of color. That was so overwhelming. Like multiple times in the movie, I was just like, nope, I gotta go home. I can't do this because it's so overwhelming in the best way. And I just teared up in the middle of it because this is so huge for people of color and for Marvel, and I am just so happy that this is a thing. Seeing people of color represented in all different shapes and sizes and looks is just amazing. Just, yeah. Also, representation of strong women. Shuri and Nakia and Okoye were fucking amazing, as well as a whole bunch of others that I'm leaving out. They just fucking kick ass, man. They kick ass. I just loved watching them so much. And also women in computer science with Shuri. I really need to talk about this because that is so amazing, and like I have not seen anything like that before. A woman of color who is into computer science and she like runs her whole lab, and it's so fantastic. I need to I can't chill. I'm like just so giddy. I was literally like this in the theater too for like the first hour. I don't think I stopped smiling because I'm just so hype about this. Also, representation of soft, emotional men was a thing. You can see this in T'Challa a lot, and I also do want to get into talking about the characters themselves. You know what? Yeah, let's just hit that up right now. So I wrote down a little section on dynamic characters, which was a huge part of this movie, which is something that I love. Obviously, I love a beautiful looking movie, but like having a good story, or more so having like very well fleshed out characters, is a big part of me enjoying a film. That's often why I enjoy a film. Dynamic characters are huge to me, and this movie was filled with them. I want to start with Njidaka, who was Michael B. Jordan. He was a really interesting villain to watch, for sure. The sympathy for him by the end of the movie, it was a lot. I really enjoyed his backstory, and it was done so in a way where you could really understand where he came from. I was very sad when he died. I mean, I understand why he had to, and I probably wouldn't feel as sympathetic towards him if he had stayed alive, because that's how movies work. kids. I definitely understood why he was angry, and I was mostly upset for him when he died because I wanted a better life for him, and so did T'Challa. I wonder how the story would have went if he would have stayed alive, but you know, that's another story for another day. He was a really interesting, well fleshed out villain. There are also more minor characters who were also very dynamic, which is cool to see. Wakabi, who is played by my fucking love, Daniel Kaluuya. He was really interesting to watch when N'Jadaka comes into power and his loyalties, where are they? Then there's a character that's fiercely loyal, sometimes so much so that it faults her, and that's Okoye. There's a point in the movie where Nakia and Okoye are talking to each other, and it's when N'Jadaka has just come into power. Nakia's like, you know, I gotta save my country, and then Okoye's like, nah, you gotta fight for your country. Whoever's on the throne, doesn't matter, you gotta fight for them. They respectfully disagree, and then Okoye comes around in the end and realizes that, yo, he's a fucking dick. What am I doing? That was interesting. Dimension in characters? That's pretty cool. The most dynamic character, which makes sense because he's the main character, is T'Challa, in my opinion, at least. I really thought that his story was super interesting. It's very much a coming of age story. Him coming into the throne and being very unsure of how he's gonna handle it. You can really see him come into his own near the end of the film, where he finds out that his father murdered his own brother because his brother sold him out, and then he just left his nephew, and didn't do anything about him. When T'Challa finds out about that, he talks to his father again, and he's like, that was actually fucking shitty of you, and you shouldn't have done that. And his father's like, I had to protect what I had to protect. And he's like, actually, you didn't have to do that. You ruined that kid's life, and now look it. I'm fighting him, and he's taking over my country. So that was a huge turning point, and I think that was a really interesting story to see. Also seeing a black powerful man, portrayed as soft and kind, and also not money hungry and not like intimidating. That was really cool to see. Just all of the relationships between the different characters. My favorite one by far being the relationship between T'Challa and Shuri was so sweet, and I loved that so much, also because it like kind of reminded me of me and my brother. That just made me so happy every time they interacted, and how T'Challa gives her the space to do what she wants to do. They tease each other, and just, yeah, seeing all the POC just like laughing together and loving each other, and just it was so nice. It was so nice to see. I feel like a lot of the times when there's a movie centered on minorities, it's all about death and destruction and sadness and tragedy, and this was not. And I love that, because that's not all we are. Also, probably my second favorite relationship was the one between T'Challa and Nakia, because oh my god, Nakia is so fucking strong, and obviously T'Challa is too, and she's like, you know what, I don't really want to get with you because I want to do what I want to do. And he's like, okay, like, I understand and I respect you for that, but why don't I give you the space to do what you want to do, and we can also be together. And that was really sweet. It was really sweet that he valued what she wanted to do so much, because that's how a relationship should fucking be. Another interesting relationship was the one between Nakia and Okoye, because they had the storyline of two equally strong women who respectfully disagreed with each other and didn't make it a competition. They still had each other's backs, and they still supported each other and loved each other. But they're like, you know what? I don't think this is right of you to do. And the other's like, I don't think that's right of you to do. And they just let it be that. And that's huge, because a lot of the time, powerful women are pitted against each other because there can only be one, apparently. There can't be more than one strong woman, which is bullshit. I loved their love for each other and their respect for each other. Honestly, this movie breaks so many boundaries, not just in the realm of having a POC superhero. Like, there's so much more than that to this movie. I mean, other than characters, which are like the focal point of why I enjoyed this movie so much, I thought that it was really cool that they teased one villain, killed him off, and then introduced the actual villain. It was obviously beautiful special effects. It was beautifully shot, just mise en scene, hair, makeup, all that was gorgeous. And Also, I really need to talk about the music because it was so good. Kendrick Lamar did a few songs for this movie, as well as a lot of other Black artists shaped the soundtrack. Really amazing. And also, can I just say that adding a fucking sick-ass beat to some orchestral music just makes it so much more hype. Like, I was dying the entire time. It was so good. No, I just love this movie. I just love this movie. I do have to say though, because all movies have their faults. While I did love 99.97% of this movie, the only thing I did not love was the corny meme jokes. There was a moment where Shuri is talking to T'Challa and he's wearing these sandals and she's like, "What are those?" And I'm like, guys, that joke is already 2 years old. Like, why are we doing this now? It's not even funny now. Do you think it's gonna be funny like 5 years down the road when people watch this movie? No. There are also a couple other jokes like that, but other than those corny jokes, this movie was so fantastic. If you're interested in superheroes, if you're not, doesn't matter. I think you're gonna enjoy this movie. It was action-packed, it was emotional, it was filled with beautiful Black people, and it was fantastically done. Please go see this movie. And I'll see you in the next video.